the youth of India today need to work for 70 hours a week. This is one of the things N.R Narayana Murthy talked on. N.R Narayana Murthy did not say that you need to go to office and work for 70 hours a week. It all depends on how we perceive what N.R Narayana Murthy said. So people were even talking about why should we work 70 hours a week? I'm already working a lot, and then it really stresses me out, and I get health issues because of working like this. Why is N.R Narayana Murthy talking like this? But then unfortunately what happens today is a lot of us, including me, do not watch the whole interview. We do what is called the headline surfing. So the headlines need to be catchy, and that's exactly what the news channels did. They created a fancy headline, and a lot of us, including me, we just browse through the headlines or browse through or watch like a minute of the video clip and then start commenting on it. I was chatting with an office colleague and he asked me a question. Narayana Murthy, the co-founder of Infosys, had said that, hey, we need to work 70 hours a week. What do you think of this? Taken aback, and I wasn't really sure if Narayana Murthy actually said that we need to work 70 hours a week. And I also told my office colleague or friend, hey, if that's what Mr. N.R Narayana Murthy had said, then I think it's a little old school, and that's what I thought to myself as well. Maybe Mr. Murthy is old school and it may not work in the current environment. And I thought, okay, let me just research or just read on what Mr. N.R Narayana Murthy had said. So I decided to go to YouTube and I just typed in the word Narayana, pulled up Narayana Murthy 70 hours. So that's how the YouTube algorithms work, and it suggests you a lot of different things. So I said, okay, I just picked up a couple of YouTube videos which came first. These were from really popular and big news channels. They have 1 million, 2 million, 3 million followers or subscribers to their news channel. The headlines were really fascinating. Are you ready to work 70 hours a week? N.R Narayana Murthy pitches for 70-hour work week. So headlines were like this. But then the interesting thing was the actual news was from this YouTube channel called 314 Capital. The actual news source, the source of this news came from an interview TV Mohandas Pai, the former CFO of Infosys, for his first podcast or for his first video called The Record for 314 Capital. Whole interview, which is about 52 minutes long, was published in the 314 Capital YouTube channel. When I watched the interview, the channel had about 1.46k subscribers, about 1,400 subscribers. Thanks to TV Mohandas Pai for this amazing interview and bringing in a great guest like N.R Narayana Murthy. And N.R Narayana Murthy talked about a variety of things. He talked about India post-independence. He talked about transformation of India from a socialist approach to a capitalist approach. He also talked about the Nehru era, where the IITs, Indian Institute of Technologies, the atomic energy, the steel plants were created by Nehru. He also talked about the good things Pandit Nehru did. Mr. N.R Narayana Murthy also talked about an autobiography of Ishar Judge Aluwalia he read, a renowned economist, where Ishar talks about devaluation of rupee when Sachendra Chowdhury was the finance minister of India in 1966, when the rupee was 4.5 per dollar, and then they devalued it to 7.2 per dollar. There were a lot of interesting things which I didn't know, so it was really fascinating, and there was a lot of learning from this interview. N.R Narayana Murthy also talked about the 1991 economic reforms, and he credited Prime Minister of India P.V. Narasimha Rao, and he also talked about a survey which Infosys did in 1994, where they interviewed a lot of college students who were just passing out of college, and Infosys was never top of mind, or it was never the number one employer for them. We're thinking about other companies to go and work, and Infosys never came to mind. So they really wanted to change this. They worked on a plan, they worked on a strategy to change this, and they did the same survey again in 2000 when the same interview or the same survey was done. A lot of students really wanted to work for Infosys. I could really relate to it because I also graduated in 2000s. During the interview, N.R Narayana Murthy also talked about China, the advancement of China, some of the gaps that are prevalent in India today, what do we need to fix to grow. And during the process, he also talked about the youth of India today need to work for 70 hours a week. This is one of the things N.R Narayana Murthy talked on. But then he did not say that it all depends on the way you interrupt his interview. N.R Narayana Murthy did not say that you need to go to office and work for 70 hours a week. It could mean a lot of things. It all depends on how we perceive what N.R Narayana Murthy said. What he said was, hey, he did not say that you work for 70 hours a week. All he said was, hey, you work hard for 70 hours a week. That could mean a lot of things. For instance, you go to work and you do 40 hours a week. It could mean a lot of things. It all depends on the way you and I interpret it. For instance, we could work in the office for 40 hours a week, but then we could work on upskilling ourselves. We could read, we could learn. Learning is a continuous process. You never stop learning. You need to work hard. You could go and educate other people. This is what N.R Narayana Murthy talked about, and this is how I interpreted it, and this is how a lot of people who actually watch the full interview will interpret it. But then, unfortunately, what happens today is a lot of us, including me, do not watch the whole interview. We do what is called the headline surfing. And if you look at some of the comments on the YouTube videos posted by the news channels, it was a little nasty. So people were even talking about, why should we work 70 hours a week? I'm already working a lot, and then it really stresses me out, and I get health issues because of working like this. Why is N.R Narayana Murthy talking like this? There were a lot of nasty comments. I recently read this book. I just completed reading this book called Trust Me, I'm Lying, written by Ryan Holiday, where in this book, Ryan talks about how news is being created today. They say news is manufactured. This is a great example. I could really relate to the book I read, written by Ryan Holiday, and this news of Narayana Murthy 70 hours, because essentially Narayana Murthy did not tell that you got to go to office and work 70 hours. It all depends on how you interpret it. And one news channel writes a story on the interview with a nice headline. It's not easy for news channels as well. It's not easy work. It's not easy to make people watch news all the time. So the headlines need to be catchy, and that's exactly what the news channels did. They created a fancy headline, and a lot of us, including me, we just browse through the headlines or browse through or watch like a minute of the video clip and then start commenting on it. This is exactly how news is manufactured and created today. I really found this fascinating because this is exactly how Ryan Holiday describes news is being created in today's world. Thanks to N.R Narayana Murthy and TV Mohandas Pai for the awesome interview. Thanks to my friend for asking this question. I've also written a blog on this and I've added it to the description. I hope you found this video helpful. What do you think? Do you have similar stories? Share them on the comment section. Thank you for watching.